So again, shalom everyone. The lighting is not, perfect because it's daytime. It would have been much better if I turned the camera around and sat with my back to the wall here. However, I really, really want you to enjoy this amazing view of the Marina Bay Sand and Convention Center, as well as the financial district of Singapore right here behind me. So the good news are that Benjamin Netanyahu, I didn't want to say anything before it was official, but I can tell you now officially, Benjamin Netanyahu, after more than 85% of the votes counted, it is official. The Likud party is the largest party in Israel with anything from 37 to 39 seats in the parliament, which is way more than he had before. He only had 30 in the last session of the parliament. And Benjamin Netanyahu is about to receive the mandate from the president of Israel to form the next government. The amazing thing was that the exit polls in the largest TV channel in Israel were that actually Benjamin Netanyahu lost. They gave him 33, I think it was 33 versus 37 to his opponents. And of course, the democracy in Israel is such that the largest party is being given the chance to form a government. So if the other party would have been larger, the president of Israel would have had the right to appoint their head as someone who should try to form a government and thus become the prime minister of Israel. The funny thing is that the last 10 years, Israel's experience with exit polls is that they're always wrong because the voters are so angry with the media that is so biased that when they are asked to vote again for the sake of the exit poll, they always vote the opposite of what their real vote is. And so the exit polls are getting false results, basically. And then comes the true results, and everything is, of course, changing dramatically. So the evening started with a big celebration on the side of Netanyahu's opponent on blue and white with General Benny Gantz. And he already gave a speech where he basically announced his victory, and he thanked Netanyahu for all of his service in the last few decades. But he already said that he's going to form a government, and within 2.5 hours, everything tipped over, and Netanyahu got the lead because now the true votes were counted, and now we're almost 85% of the counting behind us, and Netanyahu is still in the lead, anything between 2 to 3 seats above the second largest party, which is an amazing victory. From 30 seats in the parliament, Netanyahu is getting now 37 to anything between 37 and 40 seats. And the final results are still not there for me to be able to tell you how the government is going to look like. But I can tell you one thing. All the TV channels in Israel right now are not even talking about any other option but Netanyahu being the next prime minister. The question now is, will he invite the other party for a coalition or of a national unity government, or will he just do what he did before, gather smaller parties around him and have a narrow government? That's it. Netanyahu, as of now, is for sure the next prime minister of Israel. And what Netanyahu is going to have to face in the next few weeks is the deal of the century of President Trump. And I believe that having Netanyahu in the office is going to be much better when it comes to dealing with the challenges of that peace deal. Now, make no mistake, I don't think for a second that the deal will be accepted by the other side. I don't think for a second that the deal is going to be accepted by even most of the Arab world. But I can tell you one thing. President Trump and his close advisors, when they put together the deal of the century, it was, let's put it this way, it was not to embarrass Netanyahu, and it was within the parameters that Netanyahu himself dictated that Israel will be willing to accept. So I'm extremely happy. I went to bed, at least I tried to sleep. I didn't, I slept 2 hours only. I went to bed, though, with a very sour feeling of, could it be true that the people of Israel are that blind to understand that we need Netanyahu, with such an amazing experience, to lead us in this crucial hour, and not some amateur politician who just started his political career 6 weeks ago? Are we that dumb? And thank God that the answer was 2 hours later, very, very swift and very, very clear. No, we're not. The majority of Israel is conservative. The majority of Israel is right-wing, and the majority of Israel is not willing to have an independent Palestinian state, and the majority of Israel is not willing to give up more land for peace. That's it. Been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. We're not going there again. And in fact, the proclamation of the Golan Heights being the part of Israel right now was the proof, or the stamp of approval, that no longer we need to exchange land for peace. We can have international recognition in territories without having, and yet pursue peace, without having to always strip off more and more land, thinking that the other side will be appeased by that. So I'm extremely happy, satisfied, blessed. I know these are the prayers of so many saints that have been answered. I know that people all around the world prayed. I know that my family voted for Netanyahu. Unfortunately, being away from Israel, I couldn't vote this time, but I made sure that my daughter and my son, who voted for the first time, they put the right ballot. So I doubled my vote, basically. I produced 2 humans that voted instead of me, and they did good. So again, ladies and gentlemen, amazing, dramatic night in Israel. The pollsters are still licking their wounds. Once again, they were wrong. Once again, the people said their word, and the word is very clear. Israel is not a Democrat, liberal, lunatic. Israel is a conservative country that is not willing to give up its security, to give up its value, to give up its history, to give up its land for anyone, because we know to whom this land belongs, and we know that there will never be peace in this land just for the sake of exchange for land. And you and I know that the true peace and the real peace will only come when the Prince of Peace will come to this place. So until then, we're going to hold on to our little piece of land, which is God-given and not to be given away. And we're going to, and look, hey, I'm just right now working on a message called the fullness of the Gentile. The Bible says in Romans 11, verses 25 to 27, behold, I tell you a mystery, and I don't want you to be wise in your own opinion, that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles has come in, and then all Israel will be saved. In other words, Israel is blinded for a reason and for a season until, and then, in other words, there's a time frame here. And one of the things that will characterize the times of the Gentiles, on one hand, There will be the church that started from the Gentiles. But on the other hand, when the Bible talks about the judgment of the Gentiles, it's because during the time of the Gentiles, Gentiles will also try to trample over the holy city and divide the land, of course. And we know that when Israel is going to flee from the horrors of the Antichrist, he's going to divide the city, he's going to divide the land, he's going to trample over the holy city. There's going to be a lot of bad things that are going on. But until then, folks, until then, we have a small window of time. And I'm always telling Gentiles, look, the time of the Gentile is specific and it's limited, and the fullness of the Gentiles is about to come in. And therefore, do not live in a feeling that we have forever. There is a window of opportunity. It lasted 2,000 years. We're almost at the very, very, very end of it. This is the time to preach the gospel all over the world, to tell the world about Jesus, because this is it. And that when that window will close, that means there will be no more Gentiles that will be willing to accept him. And then all Israel will be saved. The 70th week of Daniel, of course, will come to an end when Israel will be completely saved as Jesus comes back on earth. So until then, folks, Israel is there in the land. Remember, during the Antichrist time, the first 3.5 years, we're going to be in the land, but the last 3.5 years, we're going to flee, as Revelation 12 says, that the women fled to the wilderness for exactly 1,260 days, which is 3.5 years. So the last 3.5 years, Israel is not going to be an independent country. Israel is not going to be a sovereign country. The Antichrist is going to rule. The Antichrist is going to divide the land, divide the city, trample over the old holy city. It's going to be terrible. Until then, there is a short window that God has allowed Israel to be an independent, sovereign, democratic country, and that is for a reason, and that is for a season, and you are so blessed to live throughout that time period where God is allowing Israel to be back in the land, and is allowing the Jews to return back to the land, and is allowing the Hebrew to be back a spoken language, and is allowing the land to be back fruitful and to be back so lush and green, and is allowing Israel to prosper once again. This is a limited time. I know that as a Jew, as an Israeli, it's a terrible thing to say, but there is an expiration date to that. And that will be when the moment the rapture takes place, and Israel will come to an hour of trial, and there will be a testing time, and the Antichrist will be embraced as if he is the Messiah. Once he will bring that peace that we know is fake, but they don't know it's fake. They will think it's real. Guys, there will be so many unbelievable things around the corner. But until then, there is a reason why Israel is backing on. There's a reason why we're doing so well. Biblically, it is what it was supposed to be. And for those who love Bible prophecy, Ezekiel 38 could not take place before Israel is back in the land, safe, secure, and prosperous. And that is exactly the era of Benjamin Netanyahu as prime minister. Israel in the last 10 years, and maybe even in the next few years, is going to continue to grow, to prosper. And I'm not sure if Netanyahu will be the prime minister when the Ezekiel war will start. It could be not. I'm not a prophet, and I'm not even trying to be one. But all I know is one thing: him being in power, and Trump being in power, and all that we see around us with Putin in Russia and Erdogan in Turkey, and what we see in Iran and what we see all around the world today, there is no doubt in my mind that we are in the very end of the last hour of the last days. And so I want to encourage you all. First of all, thank you for praying for Benjamin Netanyahu, but more so, thank you for understanding the times and the seasons. And the one thing we need to do is to translate this knowledge and understanding into a great enthusiasm in bringing the gospel to the whole world. This is why I'm around the world, half of the time, on the other half, I'm in Israel, of course, because people don't know. I'm so happy that the Lord has opened the door for me to now go to Indonesia. I was granted a visa finally. More doors are being opened now in countries in Europe and other countries in South America and elsewhere. But I just want you to know, this is our time as believers. This is our time to rise and shine and to speak out, because this is a limited time. It is a limited time. There's an expiration date. Remember, the fullness of the Gentiles is about to come in. And then only God will deal with Israel. Until then, you've got a short time, a small window that we're still there to do and to see amazing things. So again, Benjamin Netanyahu, the next prime minister of Israel, once again, he's going to be the longest sitting prime minister in the history of Israel. An amazing guy who became prime minister in 1996 when he was 46 years old, my age right now. He was already prime minister of Israel, the youngest prime minister ever. He was the first prime minister in the history of Israel that was born in Israel. Until 1996, all of our prime ministers were not even born in Israel. And Benjamin Netanyahu, now, after so long, he's 23 years later, once again elected as prime minister of the state of Israel, with an overwhelming majority when it comes to the voters, and of course the blockade of the right wing. If you look at the two sides of the political map, is much bigger than the left wing, than the liberals. And this is an amazing victory, an amazing morning. I am thrilled. I'm happy. Most of my people now, most of my family now is sleeping in Israel. They're 5-6 hours behind me. But I'm here in Singapore. It's a beautiful morning, as you can see. And I'm excited to tell the whole world this update that Netanyahu won the elections, and we're going to see in the next few hours how it's going to be translated into the seats in the parliament, and also how fast he can form a government. Wonderful news. Thank you for your prayers. I love you all. I just want you to know my testimony as a Messianic Jew, as a Jewish believer, was filmed by Anchored North. It's an amazing ministry, and we're going to have a live event, which you can find on my website, on my YouTube, and we're going to release this short video of my testimony, and I would like you all to take it and use it and forward it and share it with as many, because this is aimed to bring to the Messiah as many Jewish people as possible. I also want to tell you that the conferences in Perth and in Melbourne, and of course still in Toronto, are open. Online registration is open. Go ahead and register in Perth and in Melbourne, and of course Canada. We're almost at 1,800 tickets that were sold. We still have a good 1,000 if you want to get it. Go and get it now. Guys, exciting times, amazing times. Let's study the Word of God together, and let's be excited together about His soon return. Indeed, we are all awaiting His return. Thank you from Singapore, and God bless you. I just released the Millennial Kingdom, my new message on on DVD, but you can also watch it free of charge on our YouTube channel, Behold Israel. Follow me on Behold Israel on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Behold Israel. Thank you. I love you. God bless you. And a great day from Singapore.